All right. We are going to call the 7 p.m. Culpeper County Board of Supervisors regular meeting to order. The first thing on the meeting is the citizen forum. This is the opportunity to talk about anything that is not on the agenda. We have two items on our agenda this evening, the 6-year secondary road plan and the Planning Commission business relative to Evergreen Assisted Living. If you're here to speak on anything other than that, this is the opportunity. We do our best to try to limit the time to 3 minutes so that we can get through the citizen forum. We do have several sign-ups. That's where we begin. First on the list is Gloria Maston relative to from Stevensburg.
I am from Stevensburg. Thank you for allowing us to speak. First of all, I want to thank the board for the efforts you've made so far with the Valley Link and the Dominion issue that's going to be, I think, make us all really good friends, I hope. But anyway, we know there's the meeting, May 19th, that is coming. I just want to make an earnest plea to you all that you take the time between now and then to really look at this issue, try to visualize the aspects of all of this issue and what it does mean for Culpeper County. Today I was sitting here, I was looking at that picture, and that picture looks like it was taken a mile from my house, and I'm standing on that back bank there of the Rappahannock River. Now on the other side, a mile up the road, is where this substation is going in. Now that substation puts us in a very special position with this whole project. 88 acres is huge, and I don't know if we understand the impact of that, all the infrastructure that comes with that. A 765 kV line is enough power for 2 million homes. 2 million homes. Clearly, that line is not for us. It does not benefit us. I have a 500 kV that runs through part of our property. That doesn't benefit me. I'm off a line that was installed back in the 40s down through to a farmhouse. When I go home, I'll probably will be without power because of the wind today. The last blizzard, we were out for a week. But we're not talking about those lines and that repair and that infrastructure for the citizens of Richardsville. And if you've taken an opportunity to drive Route 234 in Prince William County, that used to be a road going into Richardsville, just like that. But now there is substation after substation, an acre, a half acre, and power lines and metal galvanized poles, 5 and 6 lined up, one there, one there, one there, coming across from the substations to wherever they're going to provide power. 765 is the same as 3 500 kVs, 6 345 kVs, not to mention the 230s and the 115s. Substation is where that 765 will get broken down and sent out, mainly to Northern Virginia, I'm sure, because all the data centers, that's what they need right now is the power. But what do you think that's going to do to the substation? Where are those lines going to come out from? I heard a comment today, or was spoken to me, that Dominion said, well, we'll put the substation and then we'll put the rest of the land in a conservation easement. Was that easement going to be the 500-foot buffer that's around it? But I laugh about this. I call it air tax. Are we going to tax them on these poles going feet and feet and feet into the sky, where you look up everywhere? Richardsville will never be the same, and we're going to start that for all of Central Virginia. That's 765, Culpeper, Orange, Louisa, Goochland, Fluvanna, all the way down. We will change Central Virginia. I urge you, please, to take a ride 28 in Loudoun County, and 234.
Ms. Maston, if you could wrap up shortly.
Okay. I'd like for you to remember the focus. We do not need the substation. It does not benefit us. And I would appreciate if you could keep that in forefront. We're not here to negotiate. The people that want the data centers, the investors, they need to find a way to provide their own energy. Thank you.
Next, we have Kristen Borden from Stevensburg.
Not sure how to go after you. I'll try and be quick. Again, thank you, and thank you for your support. Hear about the same thing. So before Dominion presents to the board next week, I just wanted each of you to pause and think, what if this were you and your land, and this was your health risk? Because they're going to tell you that there's all kinds of studies that it meets a minimum. It's not true. And if you look at the recent data coming out, there's major health risks associated with this. I can't live there if this happens, okay? And so we're going to have Dominion come in next week, and you're going to hear words like reliability, regional need, future growth, and you're going to hear that this is just one project, just one substation. But the people in this room, we've done our research, we understand something that Dominion is never going to say to you out loud. This is a foothold into our community, and they're just going to build off of that. Infrastructure like this kind of spend it's not contained, it grows. It expands, it attracts more transmission lines, more industrial infrastructure, more developmental pressure. You do not place a massive substation in a rural agricultural community strategically positioned by gas lines and water and say that it's going to stop there. Anybody saying that is flat out lying. The location is too valuable. Once this door is opened, even a crack, it cannot be closed again. Because this isn't about negotiating conditions for us, it's about trying to make the destruction more acceptable, and that's what they're going to do. Well, if you just let us do this, we'll stop here. If you just let us do that, we'll stop there. It's not going to stop. Once we crack that door, it is wide open. Route 3 changes permanently. I want to speak plainly about something else. It's also about economics. Culpeper is not competing with Northern Virginia for dense infrastructure, major industry, elite public systems. Richardsville does not have massive sewer capacity, industrial infrastructure, or commercial development. Our only value is our land, and once that's gone, we can't bring it back. It takes away everything from us. So over time, this community will become a part of the industrial power corridor for Northern Virginia. That is their plan, no matter what they're saying. I know it's going to be a slick presentation, and we don't get to ask questions, but that is what is going to happen once they get in here. And we oppose progress. We're going to get no benefit from this. We're going to get all of the pollution. It's going to ruin our land value, and we get nothing from this. And quite frankly, there's no amount of money they could give me that would make this acceptable for my way of life. So I just want to say thank you for everybody who voted no. And I will say that the people are going to continue watching, and we expect you to stand with us. I've got a whole thing here, but I just want to speak from my heart. The people are watching. This is more than Richardsville now. It's 9 counties. It's everybody in Culpeper watching, and they stand with us. And if we are allowed to fall, then who's next? That's the way that they're seeing it. And so I just ask you guys, they're going to come in, and they're going to bribe, they're going to pressure, they're probably going to threaten. We need you to stand strong and stand behind us, and that's all that we're asking you to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Leilani Stanley.
Hi, how's everybody tonight? My name is Leilani Stanley, and I came here tonight to address a few things related to today's budget adoption and
Ma'am,
amendments.
Could you state your magisterial district? I'm sorry.
Catalpa.
Okay, thank you.
Number one, you approved a 2-cent tax increase today. That's $89 more per year on the average Culpeper home. At a time when residents are already paying more for groceries, more at the pump, and more for everything else, you had the nerve to ask for more today. Number two, you approved a tax increase on the same day you passed a budget amendment because you allowed the IT operating budget to run $745,000 over its adopted level with 0 board authorization. The IT department adopted budget last year was $916,767. The county spent $1,466,358. No amendment, no public hearing, no accountability. And today you adopted an IT budget of $2,275,201. And with easy math, that is a 148% increase. And then you called it responsible governance. Number 3, you fired employees and forced retirements claiming wrongdoings and mismanagement of public funds. Yet today, you retroactively approved $810,000 in spending that happened without your authorization. You have done the very same thing you accused those employees of doing. The only difference is they lost their jobs and you gave yourselves a budget. You should be ashamed of yourselves for not having the courage to stand up, take accountability, and be honest with the people you elected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Kurt Christensen, Stevensburg.
Good evening. I'm Kurt Christensen from the Stevensburg District. Last week, I watched online a meeting between the Board of Supervisors and the Culpeper Town Council on plans for a new courthouse. And the first thing that hit me there was there's a bias based in this consultant's study of we were billed. And I think that's not objective. That is basically saying build. And what I'm saying here is, you know, the combination of COVID and high technology and digitized records has greatly reduced the needs for citizens to physically visit the courthouse. Deeds for real property can be recorded from a lawyer's office electronically without the need to visit the courthouse. Since most county property records are digitized, citizens can pay a modest amount of money each year to access these records from the laptops in their home, in their business, or while they're on vacation. Also, an increasing number of civil court proceedings are done virtually, again reducing the demand to enter a counter building. These exciting trends will increase as artificial intelligence and digitization are more widely adopted. As a result, it's wise for the board to move slowly on plans to build a new courthouse. The need for bricks and mortar is rapidly changing. So, bottom line is, county attorney is going to determine all this. You know, will it be a referendum? If there is a referendum, there needs to be a question on there that basically says none of the above. You know, it should not be biased in favor of building it this way or building it that way. Again, there should be no biases built into this referendum process. And consultants get paid for recommending things to be built, right? And all these constitutional officers, I get it. They want a nice office. They want a courthouse. They want something for pride, but we're the taxpayers. And we provide adult supervision over you folks. And frankly, the dogs don't like the dog food with a lot of spending going on willy-nilly. You guys having some investigations going on now, as I understand, on credit cards, various things like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Wayne Toomey.
I'm in Ligonier, Virginia. I come tonight, and like I say, I just want to thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Paul, for just trying to get some insight on how I can help you guys. You know, I definitely don't want the power station. I don't want the substation. That's easy to see. I bought my sign to speak for that. I carry it everywhere I go. I try to. I definitely think it's a bad idea. I think it was pushed on us, and I think we behind the game. So it's really scary that we didn't know about it early on, regardless of whose choosing that was. Maybe it's our fault because we didn't show up as citizens when we should have. The one thing I would address tonight is that, Ms. Wilson, you have a big job on your hands. And I would recommend, I've been praying for each one of you always. I really have since the last meeting, because you're in a whirlwind. And whirlwinds will suck you up and eat you alive. And nobody will survive it. The citizens won't survive it, and y'all won't survive it. And then we'll have somebody else coming in 4 or 5 more years, and then they'll try to fix it. So I'm just going to say this straight up as best I can. You probably need to get you some more help. I know you don't have the money, county board, I understand that. But with what I think is going on, because I can't get any answers, Mr. Ferris did come over and assure me that he's got something he feels really good about and this, that, and the other, but he can't tell me, and I understand that. I know how to do process. But I do know, looking from the outside in, it is terrible. Because you're getting rid of heads that are very, very important for the function of this town and county. It goes way beyond, somebody trying to just step up and do somebody's job that's been here for years and years and years. They may have done a poor job, but they didn't do but so poor for the old board. Now, whether everybody before you guys were guilty of all the wrongdoing that evidently is so much here in this county, and I ain't sure what it is yet, but you're going to devastate everything, and you're not going to fix anything if you keep getting rid of the heads. I'm suggesting that you slow down on the firing process because the county employees are scared to death of you. They don't know whether to tippy-toe by you or whether to just stay home and hunker down. They just nervous. So now you got the laborers that do the workforce and the ground and the grunt work out there scared to death because you continually chopping off the heads of upper management, which is critical. It's scary. Please slow down and be cautious and think about what you're doing before you do it. I just hope you all are united on some of these hard decisions. I don't know what the vote was, if it was a vote when you just got rid of the last lady. I don't know a lot about her. I thought she was doing a good job. Maybe she wasn't. Same way with Sam. I love Sam to death. I've been dealt with him forever. I'm still confused about him. I just hope you ain't got a hit list. I just hope deep down in your heart you ain't got a hit list. Please be careful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sherry Toomey.
I'm holding one, but I'm like,
Cherie Toomey, Stevensburg. A lot of what I had to say, Ms. Stanley already took care of that. Along with what my husband had to say with the budget, the whirlwind is just beginning, like he said. I said this last time, the more transparency and the less behind the doors, these things, I know a lot of stuff, if it is under investigation, can't be said outright, but there's got to be, this is a public entity. We are the ones who voted you guys in. We are the ones paying you. We are the ones paying for all the stuff that's going on, the 800,000, whatever else is not right. Why don't we have a right to know? I'm an office manager. I have to account for every single penny. I have to have receipts. Legally, I have to do that. Not only legally, my bosses say this is what you have to do. So there's got to be a paper trail. There's got to be something. Obviously, if there's not, then that's an issue, and it should have been handled a long time ago. The problem is when everything is being done hush-hush, all you're making us do is wonder and assume the worst. So I said it last time, I think things are a little backwards. A lot of the meetings should happen before you guys do the votes or before a lot of the decisions are made, because you don't hear from us until after the fact. So if y'all listened to the people first and then talked, that might be a little bit more helpful. On the Valley Link, again, there's multiple meetings coming up. He's showing up. It would be nice if some of the rest of the county showed up, because it's not going to affect just us in Richardsville. Obviously, the tax issues, the money coming in or not coming in is going to be an issue for everybody in the county. So poor Dwayne, thank you, but he's like the Lone Ranger right now. It's like the rest of you don't care. And not to bring back harsh words, but that little section that you'd rather give up, we mean something to the rest of the county. That's our homes. And you guys, we're all going to be paying for it. So you guys got a leg in this. You need to be fighting for it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak, or anyone who somehow I missed their sign-up sheet? Yes, ma'am.
I'm rolling up my sleeves because I've been at the farm all day. Lynn Bell, Cedar Mountain District. Just wanted to say a couple of quick things. So my true vocation is as a organizational strategist. And for now, for you guys, the decisions you've had to make, some of the other comments that I've listened to, there's really quite a bit of a conundrum that public servants have. when they have to address the internal workings of their organization first. And what the public infrequently understands is that, I think it was Dragnet many years ago, what was that, 1966, when they said the names are changed to protect the innocent in these particular instances. But nonetheless, there are certain things that you inherited that you understood from a budget perspective you have to spend, whether the money is there or not. And the public doesn't always understand that. And honestly, I probably don't understand what some of those items were and the situation. But beyond the poker faces today, there are people who care about this community. And each one of you has made a strong decision to listen to the changes that were made by who was voted into office. And so, if you could imagine that you were an amorphous entity that had no faces, no names, no history with one another, but you knew you had a commitment to this community, I feel strongly that many of you would have acted the same way, with the same integrity, the same commitment to transparency, as much as you legally can, to protect those people who deserve to be protected. And as I heard Ms. Brown mention in one of our community meetings here in town, her greatest asset that she thought the government had was its people. But it's always about getting the right people in the right seats on the bus, isn't it? And making sure that everybody is going the same direction. Otherwise, they need to get on another bus. So continue your work looking at the inner function and the inner efficiency of this esteemed community. I know it's balancing on the head of a pin with the outward-facing activities, but you're doing the best you can right now, and there are a few of us who do believe that you are trying to do the right thing. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. A.J. Pullen from the Catalpa District. Seems everybody kind of has the same theories this afternoon as they want to protect Culpeper. I'm a fifth-generation farmer, hopefully raising the sixth. I was asked to speak tonight regarding agriculture in Culpeper. I thought about it, and I figured everyone must know how important ag is to Culpeper and Virginia. It's the largest industry in Virginia at $82 billion annually, or that we're losing 400 to 800 farms a year. When you hear the word stewardship or stewards of the land, you think of farmers. And don't get me wrong, good farmer and rancher, there's no better steward of the land. But you, the supervisors, are ultimately the highest stewards of our area. The land, you make the decisions to preserve, to develop, to create revenue. It's all hard decisions. But I ask, are we considering such things as at the rate of building and developing, there will be good, clean food for our children and grandchildren? Or will there be enough water to sustain them? I look at this book. We probably don't read it enough anymore. I'd like to read a chapter, 1 Timothy. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through many sorrows. Preserving ag land is not instantly profitable, and many think that taking building rights away from landowners is devaluing their land. I say it's the best investment any of us could make. I never met a young person that said, "Man, I'm happy Grandpa sold the farm." They all wish they had it back. I was told by a spouse of the current supervisors, we don't need the farmers of Culpeper. They don't matter. I beg to differ greatly. From beef production to poultry, to corn, to soybeans, to wheat, to many others, to the deer, to the bears, to just open land. Please consider new ways to protect our open land that we have left. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Next, there's an agenda before us. Are there any additions or deletions? Hearing none, we'll move forward. First up, general county business public hearings. Public hearing draft secondary six-year road plan for fiscal years 27 to 32. Mr. McCrum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now we'll be hearing from our Planning and Zoning Director, Denise Harris, who will provide an overview of the secondary six-year road plan.
Good evening. Tonight, the Board of Supervisors is holding a public hearing on the Culpeper County Secondary Six-Year Plan for fiscal years 2027 through 2032. Joining us tonight in the audience are 3 members of VDOT staff who are available to answer any questions. The VDOT Rural Rustic Program administers the hard surfacing or paving of the county's unpaved roads. Currently, the county has just under 50 miles of gravel roads that qualify for consideration within the 6-year plan. Evaluated roads must carry a minimum of 50 vehicles per day with no more than 750 vehicles and provide existing right-of-way or prescriptive easements to be considered. Annual allocations are approximately $131,000 in the telefee funds, which are the telecommunication fee construction funds, and between $610,000 and $657,000 in district grant funds, for a total of just over $700,000. Previously adopted plans work to spread the appropriations across eligible roads across the county. This map shows in green the roads that have been completed. In orange are the projects that are underway.
One
Yep.
moment, Ms. Harris, if
Oh,
you could,
I'm
if we could
sorry.
see the map.
I'm
I'd
sorry.
love that.
There you go. And we'll show this map again in more detail. Orange are the projects underway, and blue illustrates future roads, and purple designates potential projects. The board is asked to adopt the 6-year secondary road plan after a public hearing by taking into consideration the recommended priorities. These priorities are developed and based on traffic counts, frequency of maintenance request, current roadway conditions, and right-of-way or prescriptive easements that are already in place. In order for VDOT to stay on their current construction schedule, the previously funded Hazel River Road, Sheeds Mountain Road, Poor Farm, Madden's Tavern, and O'Bannon's Mill projects are allocated in the first 5 fiscal years. The board will add a project for the out year of fiscal year 2032. Historically, the telefee funds were added to the district grants to enable the greatest opportunity to meet the needs that are always exceeding the available funding. So for your consideration are the recommended priorities on this list. This year, Walker's Drive was the highest priority recommendation. It is similar to several other roads like Scottsville or Black Hill to receive citizen requests to be paved. Last year, the county started working with VDOT on examining Walker's Lane after citizen input. It rose to the top of VDOT's recommendations based on its average daily traffic counts, right-of-way availability, and the greatest impact due to being able to be fully completed in phases. This previously, last month, went before the Public Works Committee for review of the proposals that are outlined on the map. You will see the recommended priorities that VDOT provided, and then on the map, they're circled with their corresponding numbers. Walker's Lane is number 1 through 12 on the bottom right of the map. The committee recommended that the full board add Walker's Lane to fiscal year 32 for tonight's public hearing. The next steps are, after the public hearing, will be to adopt a secondary 6-year plan to forward to VDOT. I'm happy to answer any questions, and VDOT is also here to answer any more questions that you might have.
Great. Questions from the board of staff?
One question, Mr. Chairman. So Walker's Lane is ranked highest. Is that due primarily to the traffic count?
Correct. There is a multi-layered process, but it does have the traffic count at the highest of all of them.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Other questions? All right. Anyone that would like to speak relative to the road plan or the recommendation of Walker's Lane? Yes, ma'am, would you like to? And if you're unprepared, that's okay. I mean,
Requesting this, I suppose it's some of my neighbors, but I live there, and I mean, I know that there's some business at the back. But I'm kind of a little fearful of how fast they're gonna drive down that road if we do it. I don't know that there's need for that kind of spend. Sure, my neighbors would hate me now, but not
Okay,
something we
so-
see as necessary.
you don't see it as necessary, and you live on the road.
Yes, I do.
If you could give your name and magisterial district again, I know you spoke before, but
Kristen Borden,
yes, thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else that would like, yes, ma'am?
I'm
That's
not
all.
all for, my name's Kimberly Richards, sorry, I'm in Ms. Brown's district. I'm not all for paving gravel roads, and don't get me started on the gravel road near my house, because it floods all the time, and I think that would just be a huge waste of the county's money. But in speaking of Walker Road, I've been on that road. I've been on that road quite a few times, and I never, ever passed anybody, and I've been on it several times at different times of the day. So it's not like I just went in the middle of the day when there was no commuting. But Ms. Brown, at her open house, I guess is what we could call it, pointed out that there was a very dangerous intersection in this county. Now, I don't know if this is just for, gravel roads, but maybe you shouldn't be looking at gravel roads, and you should be looking at this intersection that is killing people, lots of people. And did you not say, Ms. Brown, that it was like #1 on the state in our county for killing people, this intersection? So for Walker Road, no, don't pave it. Don't pave some of the other roads either. Fix the other roads that have real problems. Save the money. We already got financial issues in this county. And I know y'all are doing your best. Thank you for putting in the FERC and everything. But that's too much money when we got people dying at an intersection that needs fixed. Walker Road does not need fixed. It's a residential road. There's not a lot of people on it. I don't think you should pave Walker Road.
Thank you,
Period.
ma'am. Mr. Frazier?
I'm Jack Frazier, Cedar Mountain District. I couldn't sit back there and listen to it anymore. The reason I'm here tonight is to speak on this intersection. But I agree with the lady that just spoke, because these intersections are a death trap 603 and 29 is the intersection that we talked about. Now, I realize that this is going to come up in a next hearing, but this is important. These roads, they really be prioritized. And if you can't prioritize a road that we've got, I know of 3 fatalities there. This road is the most dangerous intersection in the county. So we're prioritizing these other roads on a 6-year plan. It makes no sense. I can't understand, the one thing that really bothers me the most about all this is all the road decisions were made here locally in Culpeper. But the unfortunate part about this is that they're not made here in Culpeper. They're made by a third party that don't have a friggin' clue. So anyway, I just thought I would throw that little bit in because this intersection is going to come up again tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Christensen.
Good evening. Kirk Christensen again from Richardsville. I live in the area where most of the roads are gravel. Most of them are dead ends because of the river. Walker Lane is one of those. So I always understood that these roads were low priority because they were dead ends. And if you talk to a lot of local people, you hear what you hear. Tonight, people say if it's paved, people drive faster. And when it's not gravel, I can teach my kids and my grandkids, might be illegal, but we do it, how to drive and drive four-wheelers. So it's interesting, the process, because, squeaky wheel gets the grease, and there's less consensus on these roads, like my road's not paved. There's days I want it to. Generally, we don't. Most neighbors don't want it. So it's kind of an interesting case study for government here that, we think all these modern improvements are what people want, but the country lifestyle is a gravel road, and it has a lot of virtues. And when you look at Rappahannock County, and it's quite, you have new people moving in here that come from Fairfax and things like that, and they don't want it paved because they want this, sort of rural, rustic lifestyle. You have wealthy people in Middleburg, uber wealthy, hundreds of millions, and they like a gravel road. So this transcends lots of, sectors of our society. So, and I think we hear some I realize it's different parts of the budget. You've got budgets for paving roads, et cetera. Where it was useful in my area was paving Fields Mill Road. That's a through road. That's a road that we use going north, going up there. A-okay. But we got a situation now where we have a lot of dead-end roads because of the river, and most people don't want them paved, and in public policy, it's probably a low priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, sir, Mr. Toomey.
I've been in the industry of building roads for all my life. A lot of times it just happens because of traffic flow. And it may help the people here a little bit too. I think what we're doing here is we're going by volume of traffic and not considering the people that live on the road. Because the GPSs send trucks where they shouldn't be going. They send cars where they shouldn't really be going. And once they get used to a shortcut, they will fly down a gravel road just because they were a little bit late for work and they make up time. Some of these roads is carrying 150 vehicles. It's not because of the people that live there. It's because the people is cutting from 29 to Route 3 or some of these other main arterial roads, and they're cutting through the collector roads. So I would really suggest that on some of these small roads, like these ones they're talking about, that don't have a limited number of houses, they have nowhere near enough people to have 150 people travel this road. So it's tremendously a lot of outsiders coming through for shortcuts. So I think on some of these dead ends, maybe you should survey the citizens that live on that road to see if they really desire it or not. Because, it's not going to help to cut through people because they can't cut through there at the dead end. So, in thinking about it, to use your money the wisely as you can, is maybe you ought to really go deep into why they really need asphalt. Now, if it's 15 of them live down there and all of them want asphalt, and you got money, I say give them asphalt. But if it's 15 that don't want asphalt, why would you force asphalt on them? When we could use it on some of these other ones that the traffic's done demanded, that's gonna be a shortcut. And like I say, you know, when you did Newbie Shop Road or whoever had the dealings with that, it helped the road, but it put more traffic on the other roads. Because they know now they ain't gotta deal with but a half a gravel road. So now you've done created to where, like, you know, when you go down Madden Tavern, you done forced it to almost be asphalt. Now the citizens don't really have a choice no more because the traffic's demanded it. Because I do this all the time in the public where I work at. And a lot of times, you know, it's out of your hands, but you want to be wise on the ones that you can control. So maybe you can't control Madden Tavern because you've set that up to be a failure. You really have, whoever done Newbie Shop. And I'm not against it either way. I understand it's a benefit to asphalt and it's a negative to asphalt. It depends on where you're at in your mindset and your needs. So some of these dead ends, I really think y'all ought to be sending something out to the citizens and letting them really make a decision on that and put your money somewhere where you demand it more.
Mr. Toomey. Anybody else wish to speak? We'll close the public hearing. Yes, that's what we're going to do now, open discussion. Yes, sir, Mr. Parrish.
You make a great point. And how many people roughly live on Walker Road? Estimated.
We're supposed to, and I'm sorry, I understand it's
All
going
right,
to be
I'll just say
interactive,
this
but
and I'll
yes.
be done. If those 20 houses are anything like my wife, that has probably 10 deliveries a day coming down my farm road, I'm wondering how VDOT counts the traffic and if that's included, that's all.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Supervisor Payne.
Yeah, I guess my question is, do we have to do this tonight? Is there,
I guess that's a question for Ms. Harris or Mr. Nesbitt or,
and I'll give my reasoning behind it, because I see a lot of people in the audience that I know live on this road or live near this road, and the majority of the ones here are speaking against it. So I guess there's the reason why my question is, do we have to do this tonight? Can we have an opportunity to actually find out if the residents of Walker's Lane actually want it paved? So I guess more opportunity for more citizen input. That's the reason I'm asking, do we have to do it tonight?
do we know what the deadline is? Yes, sir.
Can y'all hear me well now?
Yes.
My name is Ben Davison with VDOT at the Warrenton Residency Office. So the answer to the question is that essentially the board is tasked with updating the secondary six-year plan. Walker's Lane did come up as the #1 priority. However, the board can elect to approve the secondary six-year plan as it was previously without Walker's Lane on it. Now, the trick is that leaves it partially unfunded. So that is a can you can kick down the road for a year, but eventually that plan should be fully funded, or the funds fully allocated to projects in the list. But the board could defer not to add a road to the list at this
Yeah,
time.
yes, sir, but I think what we're wondering is, when's our deadline to update it? Meaning, we may want to substitute another road.
Understood. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. So you have until essentially the fiscal year, July 1. Being May now, you only got one more board meeting for that. You could defer it a month if that's the desire of the board.
Thank you, sir. Is that your question?
It would be
That's-
cutting it very close, but yes, sir, it could be deferred a month.
If we could defer it a month, I think that would be the best way to go about this. If I have to, I'll go to Walker's Lane and knock the doors. So,
Understood.
yeah.
Thank you, sir. That's very helpful.
Absolutely.
So we have had a request from the Chair of Public Works and the person who represents Stevensburg and Walker's Lane to defer action. I guess Would that be parliamentary in the form of a motion to,
I recommend that be a motion.
you make a motion that would take precedence to defer until our June meeting?
I move that we defer till our June meeting.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of deferring this until our June meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're deferred till June. Next, Planning Commission business. A lot of case numbers regarding Evergreen Assisted Living at the corner of 603 and 29. Mr. McCrum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shelley Reed is the applicant here requesting a comprehensive plan amendment, rezoning, and conditional use permit to establish an assisted living facility known as Evergreen. With that, I will turn it over to my Planning and Zoning Director, Ms. Harris, for additional context. Is the applicant here tonight, Ms. Harris?
Yes. I'm sorry, if you could give me a moment to pull up.
Absolutely. Our network's being upgraded, but we're still under an emergency.
I want mine, please. No, that's the applicant. Here, I'll tell you one sec.
For the public, one moment, we're adjusting ourselves technically.
Why is it not pulling up on my? All right, if you'll forgive me, I'm going to have to read from the screen because I can't get it on my computer. Tonight, we're holding a public hearing on 3 applications before you. One is a comprehensive plan amendment from industrial to agricultural and rural for the future land use map. The second is a rezoning from light industrial to rural area. And the third is a conditional use permit that would allow for an assisted living facility. The owner is Anchor Point Management, LLC, with the applicant Shelley Reed. The current zoning is light industrial, and it is designated on the future land use map of the 2023 Comprehensive Plan as industrial. It is located at the corner of White Shop Road and Route 29 in the Salem District, and the parcel is approximately 10 acres. This is an aerial map of the property that shows the corner of White Shop Road and US 29 with one entrance on White Shop Road. The property is currently vacant. This is the proposed future land use map of the comprehensive plan that the applicant is proposing to amend to designate the property from industrial to agricultural and rural. The surrounding area has a mix of designations, with the most of the area designated as agricultural rural. The rezoning map shows that the site is currently zoned industrial, and they are proposing to change that to RA, rural area. The current by right uses for industrial zoning district include contractors, equipment storage, auto repair, warehouse operations, and other uses with heavy traffic. The proposed downzoning of the property will inherently restrict these more intensive uses. The applicant proposes to establish one building for up to 16 residents, with the potential of up to 3 buildings in total based on market demand. The maximum build-out potential of the 3 buildings is for 48 residents. The property would be served by well and drain field, and the entrance improvements are shown on White Shop Road. A turn lane warrant analysis did not require a dedicated turn lane to the property, and the traffic pattern on the proposed property shows circulation of side streets, parking, and screening on 29 and the property. We have some photos from the site. This one shows you, if the first one being the view of the property with your back to 29. And then the second one is at the opposite angle, shown at the southernmost property line, looking north, with the billboard and a car as seen on the right side of the image. As you all are aware, VDOT conducted a pipeline study of US 29 and White Shop Road, and the county is currently in the process of applying for a smart scale application to do safety improvements along this intersection area. You can see on both of these documents where the right-of-way that is proposed by VDOT might require some of the land from this property. However, it does not impact the concept that the applicant is proposing, and it is in the conditions of approval that the land would be dedicated at time of engineering. For the rezoning, the applicant has offered to proffer out the following uses. I'm not going to read them all right now, but in essence, the goal of the applicant was to proffer out more intensive uses like breweries and wineries. And then the Planning Commission reviewed this for a number of draft conditions of approval, which find that if the assisted living facility was approved, it would be in general conformance with the the concept plan that the applicant has submitted, that phase 1 would be limited to the construction of 1 building, and that it would contain 16 residential units. Proper vehicle access would be constructed to meet all VDOT standards and the emergency services of vehicles. The number of beds for the total project would be limited to 16 beds for up to 3 buildings for a total of 48 beds. They are conditioned to have meet the screening requirements that will be installed at time of occupancy permit. The property shall be in substantial conformance with the landscaping plan and screening. They must follow the county lighting ordinance, and that the development shall meet all federal and state regulations, which includes Department of Health oversight of these types of facilities. And then the last one that we just spoke about, the right-of-way shall be reserved for the intersection improvements on White Shop Road once VDOT has concluded the final engineering. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this in April, and public comments included support for the proposed use, as well as concern about well and drain field demands, concern about traffic at the intersection with White Shop Road. In the end, the Planning Commission recommended approval of all the applications for the comprehensive plan amendment, the rezoning, and the conditional use permit per the offered proffers by the applicant and the draft conditions of approval. So with that, the applicant is here tonight to have and is able to give her presentation and answer any questions as well.
First, I guess, questions for staff, and then we will have the applicant come forward if they'd like. Any questions for Ms. Harris?
Ms. Harris, I do have one question. When you were reading all of that, the one thing that sticks out to me, they have where they're going to have it built in phases, and the phase one, and they address that at the Planning Commission. What control mechanism are they using, or is there any? Because I haven't seen that in any of the documents that were provided.
Control for, they're going to be, the proposal is to approve them for up to 3 buildings, but they are proposing to start with 1 to test the market.
So when you say that they're going to do phase 1.
That's the first building.
And
They
there's
have done
nothing that
soils.
says that it's going to be done 1 year and then 2 years or
No.
3 years. So it's done in phase 1, but yet there's no control over that.
Correct, there is
Okay.
no proposed phasing in terms of years, but the applicant has done soils testing. And one thing to point out is that when they began this process, they did their analysis for transportation based on 4 buildings. And after the soils testing came back saying it would only support 3 buildings, it was scaled back at that time.
Other questions of staff? Yes, sir.
Mrs. Harris, being that we're told the intersection is a dangerous intersection, and VDOT has to approve the entrance, ingress, egress, can you give us any insight as to if VDOT might be able to improve or help improve that intersection while doing the entrance improvements?
At this time, the applicant is not accessing Route 29. They're only going to be coming off onto White Shop Road. And any type of proffers or conditions of approval would have to have a rational nexus to the impact that the applicant is having. At this time, it is zoned industrial, and the ITE trip generation manual places the trip generation for industrial uses higher than the assisted living. So their impact is actually less than what would be by right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And if not, would the applicant like to come forward and present?
Hi, good evening. I am Shelley Reed. I'm very excited to share with you my project, the Evergreens at Culpeper. I'll wait just a moment for the presentation to come up, but I will start by explaining we are a luxury assisted living and memory care home. You'll often hear me call it a mansion because it is very much residential but large. We're 10,000 square feet. And so I'd like to share a bit more. As I mentioned, my name is Shelley Reed. I have been here in Culpeper for 5 years now by marriage. My husband has been here his entire life, and his family is very rooted here. Our kids go to school here. We're very involved in the community, volunteer opportunities. So what I'd like to share is that this is very personal. This is where we live. This is where we would like to build a home for our grandmas and grandpas. And so we want to do that here and serve this community. So nationally, we are in a crisis. We are no longer planning for growth of population of our seniors. We are playing catch up. If you've been familiar with the term silver tsunami, that is our baby boomers who are aging rapidly into retirement. We are expected to have all 73 million reach the age of 65 by 2030. Right now, we're at 800,000 beds short to accommodate those seniors. Culpeper is no different. It is recognized as one of the fastest growing populations in Culpeper County, and the comprehensive plan acknowledges senior housing as an issue. They are already moving out to surrounding areas to find the level of care that they need. Right now, we're seeing a 9% increase in senior population just from census information, and currently almost 10% of households that are living alone are in this category of our community. Memory care is probably one of the most desperate needs. Currently, there is no memory care options in the pipeline, or assisted living for that matter, and it is a critical gap that we have. We work here and we live here, and so we would like to build a business that also supports our community. Each home will have 9 full-time caregiving positions, and at full build-out with 3 buildings, we hope to provide 27 employment opportunities. We also will have strategic partners within the community that we will invite into our home to care for our seniors, such as hospice, therapies, physicians, medical providers. Okay, what you're seeing here is the exact model with some minor variation for Virginia standards that we will be building. This is in Georgetown, Texas, and our mentors and partners, Brett and Laura Shakavis, are building their own grandma-grandpa neighborhood, which is what we hope to do here in Culpeper. I'll show you that this is very residential, and as you walk in, you'll notice that it feels like a home, not a facility. One of the big aha moments is right there for me. It's the large windows, a lot of daylight coming in. All of the meals and time together will be spent in general family areas. That's the garden room, and we also have a library that you'll see later for gathering areas for families to visit. And all of these rooms are 16 individual suites. We are not doing dual occupancy, so we will never reach more than 16 residents. We have the salon there for treatments and also a private space for them to meet with medical providers. That's the library, which is another small area. And you'll see the open kitchen, which I think absolutely makes it feel like a home. Smells like one too. These are some renderings that we have that take that model and make it our own. So while we are partners and receiving mentorship with Laura and Brett, we want to make this our own business. This will be our business here in Virginia, and we wanted to make it feel like that. Just a distinction, we are not independent living. So a lot of people are familiar with senior independent living, where our seniors are more active. They often are still involved in community clubs. Many of them are still driving and have personal vehicles. That will not be our residents. We are also not a nursing home, so our staff will not be providing medical care directly. We are intending for this to be an age in place, so we'll invite in any additional support to serve them in the home. This is our concept plan, and as mentioned, we are starting small. We're starting with 1 building that we hope to scale into a neighborhood, but that will largely depend on what the land will provide as well as the market here in Culpeper. We have addressed drain fields. What you're seeing there are the general areas of where we've identified primary and reserve. And we, since meeting with the Planning and Zoning Committee, have reached out and confirmed that this area is available for well systems for all 3 homes. At the recommendation of VDOT, we added in a sidewalk system throughout the neighborhood and also included lighting around the neighborhood as well. Personally, we live in town here in Culpeper, and so this location works for us because it's 5 minutes from town. It's close to all the services and providers that we will need, as well as the hospital. There's existing access and infrastructure. That was kind of a sweet spot for us to find this rural, peaceful environment while still close to the services we'll need. Currently, we're zoned as light industrial, which means that there are heavy traffic possible on local roads. It's a higher intensity land use, greater noise and disruption potential, and greater impact on the neighbors. At our peak, we are expecting 8 to 16 vehicles at the peak hour, which is defined between 4 and 6 p.m. No trucks or heavy deliveries. Everything will be done on a neighborhood scale. It's lower intensity and quiet. So what we'd really like to portray here is that we are a lesser impact on the neighborhood than what we would otherwise build. We did hear the concerns from the planning and zoning, and so we did dive a little bit deeper into the traffic analysis. We had a trip generation analysis completed before that hearing, and they asked that we scale it down and just focus on the traffic at our intersection. So I looked up the VDOT public crash data for just White Shop. In 2025, there were 3 total incidents. 2024, there were 8. And in 2023, there were 6 with 1 severe injury listed. I think a member on the planning board mentioned or recalled possibly a fatal crash at this intersection. So I did go back to 2019, found that, and alcohol was a factor in that. So this reiterates that we are trying to reduce the traffic. Current usage off of White Shop is 1,900 vehicles a day and 187 vehicles during that peak hour. Our project will add 16 vehicles at peak when we are at full build out. The VDOT standards indicate that we'll have less than 5% of that overall traffic will be turning into our site. And they indicated that no turn lanes would be required by their analysis. And again, that was when we were reviewing for 4 buildings. Just by nature, too, our business will naturally avoid the peak hour traffic and volume. We have our shift work, which will avoid those peak hours, morning and evening. And we will also not be inviting providers in during those times. This is just what was previously briefed by Ms. Harris. And I think this does speak that this has been identified as a problem area. We acknowledge that. We're very supportive of the project that VDOT is proposing. We'll cooperate in any way that we can. And that shows the second image. I also want to highlight that our commercial entrance is off of White Shop, and we're more than 600 feet away from the intersection. So during their analysis, we would have little impact on that intersection directly. Our respectful request is that you would approve the comprehensive plan amendment, the rezoning, and the conditional use permit. And just for our final slide, I'd like to invite up one special partner to close us out, if you would.
Thank you for listening to our project, The Evergreens at Culpeper. We are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant? Yes, Supervisor.
Ms. Reed, thank you for that presentation.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things. You had mentioned earlier a 9% growth in Culpeper. Is that annual, or is that from the last census, from a 10-year?
That's from the census,
So
so
that
over
would have been
4
like a
years.
10-year period?
4 years, I believe. Let me pull that up.
That's okay. So more of a 4 to 5 year period.
Correct, 9.5 in the last 4 years.
That sounds about right, okay. And so in each mansion, and you'll build one at a time, each mansion would accommodate 16 individual suites. So each person gets an individual room.
Yes,
an
sir.
area. Nobody has a roommate.
No.
I like that, okay. And then final question for me, is this your first venture in this kind of a facility?
It is.
I'm just
So-
curious as to what the motivation is to do this.
Absolutely. So I have a background in federal regulation and policy, and my husband is in construction industry, so we get that question a lot. I have indirect experience with healthcare regulation, but other than that, it is limited. So we, like many people we've met along this project, have a personal story, and we started looking for care options for our own family and found how little was available. Large distances in order to find a place where our family would feel comfortable. And in addition to that, once you found a place, there was often a large wait list. So it's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. So we started looking at solutions ourselves and found Brett and Laura Shakavis in Texas, who have a heart for this and have been doing it for over 10 years. So where we lack, we are smart enough to ask for help from people who are smarter than us. So, thank you.
I have one question too. Did I hear you correctly saying that your residents will not be drivers?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. At this point, I believe we open the public hearing. So is there anyone from the public that would like to come and speak on this application? Yes, sir, Mr. Frazier.
Jack Frazier, Cedar Mountain District. I guess the first thing I want to talk about is industrial, light industrial. I built 2 buildings there within a quarter of a mile. The traffic to those, there was I think there's some misinterpretation about how much traffic that they produce. And those two buildings produce less than 50 cars a day. So I just want to make that clear as far as the downzoning here. I think that the application here, it's not real clear about how many cars it's going to produce. When I first talked to the zoning department, I got the numbers were 32. They called me back and said, the numbers are 160. So, as far as this is concerned, you've got at least 9 to 10 people. How can you have a traffic count that's going to be less than, 150 because you're going to have, how about people visiting these folks? That is not, are they not going to get any visitors, I guess? If I'm there, I hope I'll get a visitor. But, and I'm certainly old enough to be there. But anyway, the traffic numbers aren't even close to being correct. I can tell you that because I've done a lot of work in that area right there. I've owned a lot of property in that area, still own a lot of property in that area. My family and I have lived in that area out there for 50 years. We travel that intersection every day. sometimes 4 and 5 times a day. We have our grandkids, and everybody knows with the kids how much traffic, how many times you got to go to town every day. They find an excuse to go to town. Then on top of that, we got a granddaughter that's just starting to drive. This intersection is the most dangerous intersection in Culpeper County, folks. I just don't understand, and this project was sold under the pretense of putting this R-cut in out there on 29. Let me think about that. Nobody said anything about when that's going to be constructed. Actually, it's past 2035. It's out 10 years. So, that shouldn't even be a factor as far as this project is concerned. Staff has talked about, they didn't give you a time, somehow or another, they didn't give a time frame on it, did they? So I'm adamantly against this. I think the traffic is a major, major issue there. Even at 160 cars a day, this entrance, I don't know if you all have paid any attention to where this entrance is or not, but in the mornings, we've seen cars backed up 8 to 10 deep trying to get on 29. That's going to interfere with their entrance coming on 603. So, it just puzzles me that it's just a lot of misinformation here as far as the traffic count. That's the big issue. And the thing I see here is, I know that there's been 3 fatalities there. They can spin it ever how they want it. My father-in-law was involved in 2 accidents there. So I know about these accidents. I know what the problem is. But the way I look at it is how many more people's got to die at that intersection before we do something about curbing the number of cars that's coming out there. I mean, you got truck traffic, you got all kinds of traffic there. So I just feel like that, we really need to look at the traffic issue, and we need to look at, hey, don't sell this project on the pretense of putting this R-cut in because the R-cut's 10 years out. That shouldn't be even a factor here. Anyway, I just want to know how many people's going to have to die before we stop the numbers there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Tooman.
I don't know a lot about the intersection, but it does sound like a lot of people's concerned. I think that's a direct question, needs to go to VDOT, and you guys need to jump on them right away. On this project, though, I support the project 100%. The people need a place locally here to stay. They grow up, they should be able to die here. So I don't know that that's a perfect place for it, but I know the project needs to happen. But I do think VDOT is the reason that road ain't fixed. I don't want to blame it on somebody, but you guys have to be a strong leader to go and say, hey, we need help. If that many people's getting hurt there, it's pretty easy to see that it's got to be fixed soon. Now, where the money comes from, whether it can be a joint venture, I don't know. But I know one thing, if you show where the money goes, and it's a joint venture there with VDOT, I believe it'll be a win-win. But I do support the project.
Ms. Bell.
Lynn Bell, Cedar Mountain District. This project means a lot, I think, to the community for some very logical reasons, but also for some emotional reasons too. A little bit of background, I recently experienced helping my father-in-law look for a memory care facility in Fauquier County for my mother-in-law, and then her ultimate passing. So the short story is that there was very little quality in the services provided in that area. And the quality of the agency the highest quality agency, as Mrs. Reed mentioned, they were about 8 months out. You don't have that kind of time to wait sometimes when you have a loved one in need for their own safety and health. As an advocate for senior veterans through the Heroes Bridge organization, it was very clear that the silver tsunami is something over which we have zero control. But if we don't take a good hard look at housing and healthcare needs for our seniors, in my view, that really becomes an equity issue. We need to be thinking about all levels of capacity for housing for our seniors. And in this particular project, and I realize this is a downzoning, and there are always pros and cons. I get it from your level for a downzoning. There's going to be some taxes lost maybe on B-pole or other property taxes, right? But there might be some other possibilities in workforce in that area, increased workforce. We have to decide who we want to be and who we want to include in this community. And so as you consider this, look at the fact that that secondary road application, 2027 to 2032, I believe it was, that area coincidentally is peak when the most baby boomers will reach their age where they are going to need some sort of assistance. Take a look in the mirror, folks. So, and I'm including myself in that too. But we need to think a little bit more broadly about the equity and how we serve the community and the needs of the community. And as we become this amorphous unit of leadership that is thinking about the good of the community and not personalities in the room or which district is which, but about the needs of the community, those are the issues we need to address, and how we provide good for all people, all citizens within our community, whether it's the family members or the people actually living in the facility, the people around the facility that might enjoy a slightly more scenic view in that area rather than having some industrial is needed. But sometimes it's not always pretty. That's why they have the facades and the tree blinds around it, right? This looks like a beautiful facility, and I think it might add some culture, some cultural asset, as well as a health and housing asset for seniors here in Culpeper County. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to? Oh, yes.
I agree that we need more homes for people who need help as they age, because either their families work or they need so much care that they can't stay at home, and it's very sad. I spent 5 years traveling to Catlett every day to take care of a lady who was with some very nice Mennonite folks that said they would let her live with them. But she couldn't walk or anything. She could barely sign her checkbook so I could pay her bills. She was my best friend. So I know firsthand what is needed. And by no stretch of the imagination was she poor. But I don't think she could afford this luxury mansion. I think we need more affordable care. Yes, it would be really nice for the 48 people that get to live there and their families and everything. But how do you have a senior living facility that's going to have memory care people and have no medical care? You're going to have 9 people for each building, but there's not going to be any medical care coming in during certain hours. Mary, my friend, she had visiting nurses 3 days a week. She had a priest 1 day a week. She had a doctor 1 day a week. She had somebody 24/7 taking care of her And even though this was in a private home, that lady also brought in additional care to take care of one person with memory issues, because not only with memory issues you get where they're not mobile anymore, that they need walk. If you've got 9 people taking care of 16 people, it's not going to work. You need almost one-on-one. And there are facilities in this county, one of them is my father's house, who does have memory care facility, who has little individual homes for people so they can age in place. That is a wonderful facility. And that facility is still expensive. You know, I think this one's going to be more, you probably don't have numbers yet because it's not built and you don't know what your expenses are going to be. But the road issue, and I agree with this gentleman, everything, the road issue, you're not just going to have 9 people a day come in there. And how are you going to say that you are not going to have absolutely no heavy truck deliveries? I mean, Cisco, if that's the food you use, or hopefully it's local farmers instead, but Cisco comes in big trucks. You know, they've got to slow down to turn on White Shop Road. Residents are going to be getting UPS deliveries. The facility's going to get UPS deliveries. They're going to get mail. They're going to get everything. I think, and I hate to hold up a business because businesses are good, but you've got to fix the road problem first. If that is the most dangerous intersection, and you have folks coming there to see their loved ones, wouldn't you all be devastated if we found out that Susie was killed at the intersection coming to see her 80-year-old mother?
Ma'am, if you could wrap up shortly.
Wrap it up. Okay, y'all need to ask more questions. I don't think there was enough questions asked. If that is the whole presentation, there's not enough presented. You need to look into this more. I totally agree. We need more assisted living facilities and everything like that. Good project. Maybe not the right location.
If you could state your name and magisterial
Oh,
district.
I'm sorry again. Kimberly Richard.
Great.
All right.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, we will close the public hearing and discussion among the board. If any, or a motion, or nothing.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps the applicant could come up again and address some of the concerns with regards to traffic. I'm reading through the VDOT's comments and then the responses from the applicant. And it appears to me, and I just want to hear from the applicant, it appears to me that many of the concerns that VDOT had brought up, and some of our folks here tonight have also brought up, that the applicant did in fact acknowledge that there were areas that might need to be worked on, but that would be taken care of when and if necessary at the site plan stage. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes, sir. And thank you for allowing me to respond.
Mhm.
So we have worked with VDOT through the agency review. And again, I'd like to just point out that they reviewed it when we were a much higher concept with 4 buildings total. We have since scaled down, and so per their analysis and review and the data that is publicly available, they are not viewing us as a huge impact on what currently exists. I did want to address the peak hours. Our staff shifts are staggered, starting at 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to then 10 p.m., and so on. And so we are purposely avoiding those peak hours to not add to the volume. Regarding the no trucks, We do have the benefit of having a live model in Texas, and so we have been working with our mentors to get a lot of figures and numbers and expectations. They do all grocery deliveries in personal vehicles. There's no need, even at 3 buildings, that we will need any sort of formal, we don't have, large cafeterias. That's not our model. We want each home to have their own chef, their own meals, their own cooking. The staff ratio is also one of the best. So we have a 1-to-8 ratio for staff to resident. And then during the day, which is when the most activity and most providers are coming in and out, that even increases to 1-to-4. It's hard to find any place, local or otherwise, that will beat that staff ratio. That's just the level of care that we find important. The build-out timeline, I think, was raised before, and I'd be really happy to address that. So we're first time into this. Our plan is to build 1 to start. We want the opportunity to build up to 3 if the need is there, if the land can support it, if certain infrastructure comes into play. But realistically, we are a 1-home property for the next 5+ years. So there is no plan to immediately develop or build this out. It'll be at a very comfortable and conservative rate. And if it's not there, we're happy to be just a 1-building concept. So we just want the opportunity to build a neighborhood. I think that adds a lot of availability for the incoming need. Pricing is also something. We have done some comparisons, and even though we are a luxury product, we are coming in currently at $9,500 to $10,500 a month private pay, which is extremely competitive and lower than a lot of our competitors even here in Culpeper once you get to memory care. The other difference that we have is it is a flat rate, all-inclusive. So as needs increase, we will not be charging or increasing fees as their needs are improving. So we do want them to stay with us and age in place when at all possible. I think I'm addressing everything, but if I missed anything, I'm happy to answer it.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I believe that it's an excellent proposal. I think it's something that our community needs, certainly, and I believe that the applicant has demonstrated that they will be more than willing to work with VDOT to provide traffic ingress and egress that will be safe, and as they grow as a business, they will continue to make those adaptations. So I support the project. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the project, but I think this is a 3-part motion, so.
This is new to us.
May I proceed?
I guess.
Okay. Ms. Harris, let me know if I'm not doing this correctly. Okay, first we have a comprehensive plan amendment request motion. So I'd like to move that we approve the comprehensive plan amendment, case CPA-2-26-1. The comprehensive plan amendment request is reasonable and in the public interest because it promotes the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice after considering the applicable factors in Virginia Code 15.2-2284.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a comprehensive plan amendment discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bates.
I'd just like to make a quick comment to address some of the concerns that were brought up. And it goes to the downzoning that, based off of the traffic, that they don't feel that that light industrial, I mean, if you look at some of the uses on that, we've got an indoor sports facility, we've got a lumber yard, wood storage yard. So that, you know, I find it hard to believe that this downzoning is not going to be a less of an impact on that intersection than what, you just put a steel building up, you could have a number of different light industrial uses. So that said, I just wanted to bring that up, but I also support the project.
Thank you. Other discussion? I represent the Salem district. I know this intersection well. I support the project. I agree with what Mr. Bates said. I agree with others. This is a very dangerous, or not this intersection, the intersection of White Shop Road and 29 is, I believe, rated the most dangerous along 29 in the non-signalized area from Madison up to Brandy. And I've been trying to work on it for years. This board has projects on White Shop Road and on Riva Road. When you get to the intersection, the costs exceed what can be done locally. Now, we want to do something about it. That's the reason there is the pipeline study. We requested and worked hard with VDOT to get the pipeline study on this area. And that led to the Smart Scale application. And yes, the Smart Scale application takes time. We're going as quickly as we can, but going as quickly as we can, I think I began a version of that in 2008, and we're still working for years from now. So I'm sorry that it takes that time. That said, I will be supporting the motion. Further comments? If not, can this be done just by vote, or do we need roll call? Vote, voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, next we have a rezoning request motion. I'd like to move to approve the rezoning request, case Z-473-25-1. The rezoning request is consistent with the future land use map and consistent with the current comprehensive plan. The rezoning request is reasonable and in the public interest because it is substantially in accord with the county's comprehensive plan pursuant to Virginia Code 15.2-2232. It promotes the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice after considering the applicable factors in Virginia Code 15.2-2284. And the Board of Supervisors accepts the proffers dated October 13th, 2025, and signed April 17th, 2026.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, there is a motion. Do you second?
Oh, second.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Supervisor Lee.
All right, sir. Number 3 in our final motion, a conditional use permit request motion. I'd like to move to approve the conditional use permit, case U 2261-26-1. The conditional use permit is consistent with the future land use map and consistent with the current comprehensive plan. The conditional use request is reasonable and in the public interest because it is substantially in accord with the county's comprehensive plan pursuant to Virginia Code 15.2-2232. It is also substantially in accord with the county's zoning ordinance, and it also promotes the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice after considering the applicable factors in Virginia Code 15.2-2284. And it is subject to the draft conditions recommended by the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
I have a couple comments. When I was digging through this, and then we had the open house, town hall, whatever you want to call the round table, when we were talking, I had a lot of concerns. because we know, anyone who's lived in the area knows the intersection, and we know how dangerous it is. And it was really worrisome to me when I thought that we were gonna be basing it on, you know, a 30 or 50 vehicle impact. What even scared me more was when I thought the residents were gonna be the ones that were driving to town, similar to some of the ones at our father's house. I didn't realize that it was all memory care. I love the idea that you're doing the staggering. So I started digging into a lot, and as you can tell, we all had problems trying to find all the attachments, and to dig into them and to follow them has been interesting, and to talk with zoning has been very helpful, to talk with Mr. Nesbitt has been helpful. One of the concerns I also had was when we go to do the smart scale, if they were to build closer to that property line or what have you, would we be disturbing and requiring that easement? Would we, as a county or state, have to then pay them? Because we've downzoned it, and now we're gonna have to pay them for the easement, and that's already been addressed as well. So I think everything that we could possibly come up with is consistent with what we can do. We can't deny by use, so if we were gonna go back to the industrial, it could seriously impact it a whole lot more. The traffic was based on 166 average daily trips, and it's everything that they put before us with the traffic study does stand to reason that that's reasonable to anticipate. So I do support the motion and support the project.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Just one final thing, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the applicant and her husband and family for having the courage and vision to come up with this kind of a project. It is greatly needed. We are, in fact, undergoing a silver tsunami. I've read this over and over again, in particular in the state of Virginia. And so this will be of great benefit to our citizens, so thank you.
Further comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. At this point, I believe a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
We're adjourned.
I'm a woman in love, and I love what it's doing to me. Have enough, baby. I'm a woman in love, and I love what's going through me.
Didn't have to keep it, wouldn't put you through it. You could have swept it from your life.